Hey there, beautiful soul. Welcome to Cultivate Your Joyful Life, where we believe true fulfillment blooms from within. I'm Emily Liou, your certified life coach, and I'm on a mission to help you create a life you freaking love. In a world where we constantly juggle priorities from career to parenting, relationships to health, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or not enough. But don't worry, in this corner of the universe, I'm here to share practical tips and inspiration to help you access your inner joy right now. So, grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's cultivate your joyful life together. Here we go. Hey, welcome back to another episode. I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest because money mindset is something that I'm really passionate about talking about. And I know in episode 10, we brought on a FIRE expert to talk about financial independence, but he was more so on the tactical and strategic side, like how to deploy your money, how to invest. This one is really going to be about how do you welcome more money and attract more money into your life. Our guest today is such a money mindset expert. Like after speaking with him, I can really tell that he's mastered money mindset and how to just think and feel more abundantly. And he gives some really great practical tips if right now you're feeling like you don't have a great relationship with money. By the end of this episode, you're going to shift all of that. Also, if you are a skeptic or you don't believe in money mindset, I just really encourage you to experiment. Chances are you probably don't have anything to lose by putting his tips into play. And actually, a really cool story. After I recorded this episode, he made me realize there are places where I've been stuck in my money energy. I've been getting a bill from Arizona Digestive Health. It's my liver doctor who I just kept putting off the payments because I just feel like healthcare is one of those things that the bills just keep coming in from previous visits. And I finally was like, after the episode, oh my gosh, let me just clear away all of my debts. And I ended up opening up my laptop and really expressing gratitude for my doctor. I was like, thank you, Dr. Patel, for seeing me and telling me I'm in really great health. I'm so grateful for my health. I'm so grateful that you were able to give me that quick checkup. And here is $150. Like I just paid the bill. And what's really cool is I've been kind of feeling a little bit stuck in receiving money in my money flow, so to speak. And as soon as I paid that, I got a confirmation email receipt from the auto pay. And then right after I got I kid you not, a sale from one of my courses that I never promote anymore. And all of a sudden I just received a payment for $300. So it was really cool and fascinating. Like, thank you, universe, for the coincidence, if you want to call it that. I hear you. I see you. Like, I need to stop blocking myself. And how can I just start to clear away everything? It's just really neat to see the money go out and come back in. So without further ado, let me read his bio and we'll get right into it. So Pericles Rellas is a money mindset expert who has worked with tens of thousands of people for more than 2 decades and taught them how to live lives of power, purpose, and prosperity. He believes that we all have a financial thermostat setting, which determines how much money we can earn and keep, as well as our thoughts, feelings, and emotions around money. For over 20 years, his program, Reset Your Financial Thermostat, has been helping people who are stuck around money so that money can flow more easily and abundantly in their lives while experiencing a better relationship with money and consequently themselves. Pericles wants people to reset their financial thermostat so they can experience life to the fullest and achieve the kind of prosperity they deserve for themselves and their families. Such a beautiful bio, and this is a true testament of all of that. So let's dig right in. Awesome, Pericles. So nice to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here, Emily. It's great to meet you and be with your audience.
Yeah, I know so many of them are going to benefit from today's conversation around upping or increasing the financial thermostat that we're all set at. We're going to dive into all of it, but just so that our audience can get to know you a little bit, I want to ask a few icebreaker questions.
Sure.
So, first is if you could travel anywhere right now, where would you go?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I have to ask a qualifying question, someplace I've never been or someplace I've been already.
It doesn't matter. You can tell
Okay.
us your reason for your answer.
I would go to Japan. I
Mm,
absolutely I've never been, and so it's one of my places on my list. And there's a sense of community responsibility. And
yes.
while each person has their own individual expression and their own individuality, there's also a sense of I'm responsible for the whole. I'm responsible for everyone being uplifted, everyone being taken care of. And there's something about that that really speaks to me. So Japan is on my list, and I'm hoping that it will be by the end of this year.
I really love that. I actually just came across a really funny post on social media where they were saying Japan just being Japan. And it was a photo of a restaurant that had all these like stickers, and they wanted you to put a sticker based on what country you were visiting. So they had like
Oh,
all the
wow.
countries and all the boxes, and everybody started putting stickers into their like country's box. And Japan was the only one that was uniform. Like the first person put it at the very top left corner, and then everyone went in a straight line. And theirs was just so orderly and neat. And so I think that illustrates what you're talking about.
Yes,
I was like, that
absolutely.
takes a lot of like discipline
Yeah.
for everybody in that country to be like, okay, I'm going to follow this
Yes.
straight line. And finally, I know you're in Las Vegas. What is the best restaurant that you would recommend to somebody?
I think Bouchon at the Venetian is
Mm,
I'm a huge I love French food. I lived in France for 3.5 years. I find French food to just be so exquisite in its flavors and its delicacies and intricacies and the unfolding of flavors and presentation. So I've there are many great restaurants, but Bouchon is one of my favorites. I love going there.
okay. I haven't been there, but I stay at the Palazzo each time because they have every room is like a suite. And
Yes.
I need space now that I have two kids, but I will definitely check that out next time. Thank you for the
Yep.
recommendation.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So now I want to dig into the financial thermostat. I love that name, but let's just start with the basics. I know it's been over 20 years for you.
Yes.
So tell us how you got started in the money mindset journey.
I started my career 30 years ago as a coach, and I started working with clients to help them expand their business, grow their income, become more successful at what it is that they were doing. And I started to notice over time that month over month, my clients were making more money. They were achieving the kind of success that they wanted. But in the face of that, they were still, some of them at the end of the month, were still behind every month. They'd increase their income substantially, but they were still treading water or behind. Some people would make a lot of money and then just disappear it. Others would make a lot of money, keep a lot of money, but they were still miserable. They were stressed and they had anxiety. And there was this pattern that I started to notice. And I began to study it. I really wanted to understand, okay, what's going on here? It can't be a coincidence that all of my clients are having some version of this. And over the next 2 years, I discovered a couple of things. One is that we all have a money mindset. I call it your financial thermostat. It's kind of a cooler way. Everybody can relate to it more. It's sexier than mindset, right? So we all have a financial thermostat, and it is set at a very specific level. It determines how much money we can earn. It determines how much money we can keep. It also determines our thoughts, feelings, and emotions around money. So that was the first thing I noticed. And then as I started to integrate this conversation with my clients, I created a very specific education that would allow us to distinguish what our financial thermostat setting is and then reset it to a place where we can find joy, happiness, and fulfillment in our lives. And so for the past 20 years, that's what my focus has been as a money mindset expert.
I love that. I've been on my own money mindset journey because I Like, I remember when I graduated from college, I went from making minimum wage to like $30,000 a year. And back then I was like, I'm living it. Like, I'm making so much money. I'm rolling in the dough because it was such a big leap from what I was used to. And I feel like a lot of my audience, they are getting these raises, they're getting these promotions. And I think sometimes they feel like because I'm earning more, I need to do twice the amount of work or triple the amount of work. And so I just love that you mentioned everyone has this financial thermostat. And where does that financial thermostat come from?
It can come from many different places. For me, there was one element of the setting that came when I was very, very young. I remember watching a show. I'm going to date myself now. It's called The Lifestyles, I think, of the Rich and Famous and How Their Lives Are Miserable, something like that. And I
Mm,
was watching it with my family, and I was probably 7, maybe 8 years old. And I remember after the show was complete, my mom said, with no agenda, it was just an aside for her. I never want to have that kind of money. You will lose your whole
mm,
family. And in that
yes.
instant, as that young child, I made this unconscious or subconscious decision. I'm never going to have a lot of money because I don't want to lose my family. I love my family. And
Yeah.
as my career progressed, I saw that there was this glass ceiling that kept
Mm,
me from earning more than a certain amount. And it wasn't until I really started to distinguish my own financial thermostat that I was able to shatter that financial ceiling and move beyond it so that I could make the kind of money that I wanted to make and keep it as well.
yeah. Oh, I love that. So a lot of it is subconscious. It's just kind of maybe what you saw your parents make or like what their relationship with money is. I think we all grow up hearing things like money is evil or money
Mhm.
tears families apart. And so all of that is subconscious and maybe makes us repel money or think like that's just not for me or I can't achieve that. So you mentioned something earlier about how we all have a financial thermostat. How do we become aware of like what our financial number is at this moment in time?
Well, as I said, the financial thermostat determines how much you can earn and how much you can keep, as well as our thoughts, feelings, and emotions around money. So the fastest way for you to determine what your financial thermostat setting is look how it is for you. How much money are
Mm,
you able to earn? How much money are you able to keep? And what kind of thoughts, feelings, and emotions do you have around money when you're interacting with it, when you're talking about it, when you're thinking about it? Just like you said, it could be for some people, they think money is the root of all evil. Well, money
mhm,
is just money. It's just paper. It's just coins. It's not evil. It's not good. It just is what it is. It's our relationship, those thoughts, feelings, and emotions that we put on it that impact us. So just look at what is it like for you around money right now. And that will tell you very clearly what your financial thermostat setting is.
yeah, I can think of some clients right now that have mentioned to me, like, I'm capped at this, or I've made a maximum of this, and I'm actually making less now than I was a few years ago. No matter how hard I try,
Mm.
it seems like I just can't get ahead. And so, for somebody who can resonate with that and listens to this right now, what do you want to tell them in terms of starting to raise their thermostat?
I look at three things: where our money comes from, where our money goes, and lastly, our relationship to it. And the
Mm,
interesting thing, I want to throw this out as well because it's really important. We can reset our financial thermostat at any time during our lives for the positive or for the negative. One of the things I'm starting to notice now is a lot of people since COVID, we had a horrible, horrible time financially during COVID. And then we started seeing inflation. People were really struggling. They were dealing with a lot. But we got so used to that conversation that things are bad, money's tight, everything's expensive, that we've created a collective financial thermostat of things are bad, money's tight, we can't afford things. And the economy is doing really well. Unemployment is
mm,
very, very low. The market is doing very well. Salaries and payrolls are going up. And yet we're still stuck in this financial conversation, which is important for us to distinguish and then start to give up. Now, what we can do to shift our money mindset is first look at where does our money come from and how do we talk about it? Now, I'm going to get a little woo woo here if that's okay with you, but I've
I
got
love
this
it.
I've got this distinction around how money flows. Money flows because it's a current currency. It flows like a current, like water or air or electricity, but it flows in a very distinct way. It flows in a circle to us, through us, and away from us, and back around to us, through us, and away from us. And we actually intersect that circle. So the money just flows like this to us, through us, and away from us. And then there's a reservoir on the side that we get to keep. Now, because it flows in this circle, blocks anywhere in that flow ultimately are blocks everywhere in that flow. So if we have blocks in the flow of money coming to us, that impacts the money flowing away from us and that reservoir on the side. Same thing for blocks in the flow going away from us. Now, the reason I bring this up is a block in the flow of money coming to us is where our money comes from. So if you resent the wealthy, if you hate your job, if you hate your boss, if you hate your coworkers, those are all blocks in the flow of money coming to you. We cannot become that which we resent. So if you resent the wealthy, you can't qualify and say, well, they're really, really rich. No, if I give you one penny more than you have right now, you're wealthier. That means if you resent the wealthy, you cannot become wealthy. So look to
Mm.
see what those blocks are. What are those conversations you have around money coming to you? And start to let go of them. Start to release them. Now, blocks in the flow of money going away from us are things like, I never pay my bills on time. I just will not do it. I always like to hold on to my money. Or I hate paying people. I resent that I have to pay my employees or I have to pay other people. Or things like that. We just don't want to let go of money. Well, if you don't let go of it, you can't expect it to come back to you.
Mm.
So start to look at those areas. What are the things that I don't like to do with money? I'm cheap. Some people say I'm a miser or I'm just frugal. Well, look to see, are you really being responsible for money, or are you just holding on to it because you don't want to let it go? When we start to clear those blocks, money then starts to flow really more freely and abundantly to us. And then the last bit on that circle of money flow is start to determine how much money you want in that reservoir on the side for you to keep. Many of us don't even look at it. We just think, well, I'm going to make money and then I'm going to spend money. Well, start to flow that money intentionally to a savings account, long term savings for your retirement. If you want to buy a house, if you want to renovate your home, if you want to buy a new car, start to intentionally flow that money to that reservoir on the side. So you watch that grow and expand over time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And when I was on my own money mindset journey, you just reminded me of the analogy that I used because I used to be the hoarder of money and I wouldn't let any money go out.
Mm,
And I heard a analogy that like I was looking at money like a dam. Like I just would money would flow in, but then it would just get stagnant and stuck. And I eventually had to change it in my head to like a waterfall. Like while a lot is
mhm,
going out, a lot is coming in at the same time, but there's
mhm,
that current. And as like a service provider, I almost imagine like me paying my local businesses. Like, I don't know, maybe that like business owner, that cashier actually needs a job one day and like ends up getting that money to be able to like pay me back into my business. And so I just really love that because I think money is so personal for so many people and it is a relationship that we have with money. And what you're just sharing there about like how you treat money and how you view money, like that affects everything. So I I actually want to ask you because I have some clients that feel like it's just not possible for them to make money. Like it
mhm,
seems like they want to think about the reservoir and being able to build money there. They also want to think about having an abundant life or having a successful business or having a successful career, but they're getting stuck on like I almost don't want to even visualize that because I don't know if it's possible for me and am I just
mhm.
setting myself up for disappointment. So can we speak a little to that fear and like how to start shifting that relationship?
Sure. They actually are creating a self fulfilling prophecy by
Mm,
saying it's not possible. I don't think it's possible. I'm afraid to visualize it because it may not happen, is ensuring that it will not happen.
yeah.
We want to start to create what it is we want, even though we may not be where we are or want to be right now. You have to create it right now. You have to feel what it feels like to have that kind of money. And one of the things that I always share with my clients is don't just say, I want abundance. We have to be very careful how we choose our words. Because when we
Mm.
say, and I work with a lot of people, and they say, I just want abundance in my life. I just want abundance in my life. And what that can translate into is certainly an abundance of money, but also an abundance of debt, an abundance of illness, abundance of issues and problems and stress and all the bad things. So be very specific and clear about what it is you want abundance in and why
Yeah.
you want that abundance. A lot of people say, I just want a lot of money. Well, why do you want a lot of money? Because if you don't distinguish what it is you want that money for, when and if that lot of money comes to you, you're going to just disappear it. It's the
Yeah.
reason 70% of lotto winners go broke within the first 5 years. It's the reason we see these extraordinarily successful professional football players, basketball players go broke after extraordinary careers earning millions and millions of dollars is because their financial thermostat is not set to manage that kind of money. So
Mm.
first give up the conversation that it's not possible for you
Yeah.
and then start to create I can have this and I do have this. Because if you find one penny, as I said earlier, that means you're one penny or wealthier. And if you can't find joy, appreciation, happiness from that one penny, how are you ever going to show joy, appreciation, and happiness for a dollar? Because a
Mm.
dollar is made up of 100 pennies. It would be like
Yeah.
saying, I love my significant other, but their hands are so ugly. I can't even look at their hands. How do you think they're going to feel? I love to
Mm.
equate relating to money the way we would relate to a significant other. If you expect them to be there when you want them, if you demand that they be there as much as you want, but only when you need them, if they provide something for you, but you don't appreciate that thing, if you don't show appreciation and gratitude for them, they're not going to want to be around you. It's the same thing for money.
Yeah.
Show appreciation for money anytime it shows up in your life. Show appreciation anytime you purchase something using money. Because, like you said, when you buy something at a shop, you're flowing that money away from you. And who knows how that money is going to come back to you? It could be the person that you gave the money to, or it could be the shop owner comes to you later on, or somebody else that's connected to them that
Hmm.
now wants to work with you and give you their money. So that circle of money is very important. Start to focus on giving up the negative conversations, that negative thought, and create what it is you do want right now. Feel it right now and then
Mm.
enjoy the journey of getting to where you want to be, celebrating every single milestone. There are no small wins, they're all big wins. Sorry, I went on a little long there, but I wanted to cover a lot. It's such a great conversation.
Oh, I love it. And I want everyone listening right now to just declare, I love money and money loves me. And like really feel that and the joy that comes from that. Because I think even then, when they say that, like that's very telling. Like, as you mentioned, the thoughts and the feelings that you have and your subconscious. Like, did you hesitate as you said that? Did it feel icky or awful? Because that's all awareness. And the beautiful thing is, anything that starts with awareness can be shifted. So, I have a question for you when we talk about the financial thermostat. Are you imagining like a temperature thermostat or like a digital one that you can shift upwards?
Yeah, I use the financial thermostat because we can all pretty much relate to a thermostat. We know what it is, we know how it works. Its sole purpose is to keep things stasis. Where if it's set at 82, it's going to keep the room at 82. If it's
Mm,
really cold outside and you open the windows, cold air comes in, turns on the heat, and the inverse is true as well, right?
yeah.
We just don't know that we have it. So we don't
Mm,
understand why, whoa, I just got all this money, but it just all disappeared. I don't even know where it went. That's that
yeah.
thermostat kicking in and disappearing the money because it can't handle anything above or below where you are. So that
Mm,
awareness you were just talking about is so important of noticing where you are right now and then getting yourself clear on, I can actually manage more money. I can
mm,
actually be the vessel for more money to flow to me. And
yeah.
then the important thing is to start to notice where money shows up in your life everywhere. If I'm walking down the street and I see a penny on the ground and it's safe, I will pick that penny up and I will
Mm.
honor it. I will thank it for coming into my life. And I have a special vessel in my home where I put every single penny that I find. And one year I found, truth be told, almost $700 in the course of a year in found money.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so you have to really appreciate, honor, and acknowledge money that comes to you, because when you do, more money will start to show up because you'll start to notice it more. It's kind of like that old adage, if you decide to buy a yellow Toyota, all of a sudden you're
Mm.
going to see yellow Toyotas everywhere. They were
Yeah.
always there, but we just never noticed them. Same thing around money. You declare that you are a money magnet, that money loves to find you, and then seeing it, acknowledging it, taking it and appreciating it and honoring it, it will start to show up in more and more places throughout your life.
Oh my goodness. I know about the reticular activating system and how that works as well. But what I love that about you finding $700 worth of pennies or coins is it shows like how leaky some people are. Like they're not embracing that relationship. And I am guilty of that within my own house. Like sometimes I see a
Mhm.
quarter and I just leave it there. But
Mhm.
I'm going to start doing what you do because you're right. Like it's worth picking up, and that allows our bodies and our minds to be like, oh, it's safe to like enjoy more. It's safe to collect
Mhm.
this. It's safe to allow this to come. So
Yes.
I'm curious, when somebody is trying to raise their thermostat, I kind of see two schools of thoughts on this, which is one camp saying, shoot for a really large number because when you aim for the moon, you'll land amongst the stars. And then
Right.
there's the second camp that's like, no, your mind and your subconscious have to feel like this is realistic. So start incrementally and go up the ladder. Which camp are you in?
I think there's validity in both camps, and I would
Hmm.
find a balance in between. And for me, it's I like to look at it as a pendulum on a clock. So if your
Mm.
pendulum, your thermostat is set right here, I want you to look at maybe where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. And you can have that 25-year goal, but then work it back to 10 years and then 5 years and then today. The problem is when we take that pendulum and we swing it one way really, really far, very, very quickly, its natural propensity is going to swing back the other
Mm.
way until it finds that center balance again. But if we
Yeah.
move, and this is where that second camp you were talking about, that incremental camp, if we move
Yeah.
it slowly, if we're really responsible, we don't get that backward swing. We can actually keep it in a certain state, but
Mm.
growing and expanding it incrementally over time. So we avoid those long swings. And the way to do that is you can create having a lot of money. It's what you do with that money where we avoid those swings. And here's where most people fall down. I want to have a lot of money and I want to have this and this and this and this. Great. And they bring in a lot of money. And then what they go do is put themselves on the hook. They buy 4 homes, they buy 7 cars, they start spending money on all their friends and family. And suddenly that pendulum's swinging way over here. And then the money stops and it swings way back over here. And they've still got all that debt. And when I
Mm.
say debt, even a home that you can't afford is considered debt. So we've made these really poor financial choices that leave us in jeopardy. So that if that spigot of money turns off for a period of time, we're now in crisis. And so
Mm.
we end up really suffering. And that's why we end up with really major problems. But when you make a lot of money, and rather than just going and spending it, you start to invest it wisely. You start to
Mm.
save it in a way and spending a little bit. Maybe I'm going to get a nicer car, but not too much, and I'm going to pay cash for it.
Yeah.
Boom. That's a great way of using that money wisely, but also flowing it into that reservoir on the side that we get to keep. It avoids
Mm.
those huge swings, and then we get to see, wow, I'm actually growing my wealth. Most people want to look wealthy, they don't want to be wealthy, and that's why they
Mm.
end up in financial crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. In episode 10, I had a fire expert, financial independence, retire early, come in and talk about all like the tactical strategy side. But I love that we're having this conversation around the mindset side
Mm,
and really how to create a vision, but able to create the container to be able to hold it. And so just to summarize what you shared, it's almost like if your financial thermostat is set right now at $50,000, like that's the ceiling you've hit, no matter how hard you work, what jobs you take, you've been capped out at $50,000. Your financial thermostat is really starting to build awareness of like, okay, well, how much do I really want? And how do I become specific around that? And that number needs to feel obtainable to you in increments. So instead of going to maybe like 200,000, it's like, oh, like even 75,000 or even 100,000 actually feels like a stretch for me, but this feels realistic or doable. But maybe I start at 75 and just wait until I start to get there and be able to like hold it and maintain it, and then I can jump to the 100,000. But it all helps you because you're not staying at the homeostasis of like 50,000 is all I can ever make and this is all I am ever going to be accustomed to. Am I hearing
Absolutely.
that correctly?
Absolutely. And then showing that true joy and appreciation for
Mm,
every single increment as you go up, because then
yeah.
you're showing the universe that you can actually appreciate what it's giving you, and
Yeah.
as you said, getting comfortable being in that space, really getting your world and mind aligned with that, and then seeing, wow, I've been doing this for a year now, year and a half. Okay, I'm ready for the next level, and then taking the next step. And then as you move through those steps, you're going to get better and better at making those jumps because you're getting more comfortable with it. That
Mm,
financial thermostat is more geared towards a readjustment, kind of like working out those muscles. You get more comfortable. That muscle memory comes back very quickly, and it makes those leaps much easier.
I really like that. And so, for anybody listening right now that's like, well, one day I hope to be a millionaire, like, yeah,
Mm,
that's an arbitrary number that a lot of people throw out.
yes.
I'm actually just curious what the thoughts and feelings of millionaires are. Do you
Well, it
have
depends
like,
on I know many. I've worked with many,
yeah.
and I've worked with billionaires. I've worked with
Hmm.
legitimate billionaires on the list. And there's a wide range of relationships with money. Now, obviously, not all of them, but many of these billionaires know how to make money. Their financial thermostat for earning money is very, very high. Now, not all of them can keep that money. So
Hmm.
they disappear the money as fast as they make it, and they have to keep earning it. And so they end up in this cycle of working harder to earn the money that just disappears, working harder to earn the money that just disappears. We saw a lot of that during COVID when things shut down. Saw a lot of very well, quote unquote, wealthy people complaining that they were losing everything when we had a very short shutdown, a couple of months of shutdown where people weren't able to work, well, that means they were living way beyond their means and they had nothing saved up. They were just
Hmm.
looking wealthy, but not really building and creating wealth. Then we have others who know how to make it, know how to keep it, but they're still miserable. They're never
Hmm.
satisfied. They're never fulfilled. They
Yeah.
never experience the joy and happiness that having that kind of money can allow them. Now, money doesn't provide us happiness. One of the biggest misnomers that people have out there is like, if I have money, I'm going to be happy. No, I promise you, that is not the answer. Find happiness inside yourself first.
Hmm.
Then allow money to provide you with the things that bring you joy, but they're not going to ever make you happy. I have lots of
Yeah.
things around me that I love. They bring me joy. I love looking at them, but they are not the reason I'm happy. Happiness comes from within. So,
Yeah.
going back to your question about millionaires and what their thoughts, feelings, and emotions are around money, some of them make a lot of money and they're very happy. Some of them make a lot of money and disappear a lot of money and continue in that hamster wheel of having to make it all the time. And others earn it and keep it, but they don't have that joy and satisfaction. What
Mm,
kind of person do you want to be around money? What kind of life do you want to have? Because I've worked
yeah.
with people who make very little money and they are so happy and content. And I would rather be that person every single day of the week than the person that's earning a lot of money and miserable and living
Yeah.
day to day in that sense of despair, that sense of anxiety, that sense of unfulfillment.
Absolutely. Yeah, you hit it so well because I have a lot of clients that I talk to where they feel like the more money they make, they just have more stress and they're
Hmm.
like, now I have to think about how I can maintain this level. Whereas like they were like, when I was in college, I was like the happiest and the most carefree and I was making pennies on the dollar, you know?
Yeah.
So it really isn't about the number, but really what you said, it's internally. Like, how can you just feel satisfaction and joy and fulfillment today and appreciation for what you have today? And then to me, money is an amplifier. Like, the more money you have, great, you just amplify your feelings, whether they're positive or they're negative. That's just what's going to happen. So, I'm just curious if you have any clients who have the feeling of, I just don't feel like I can make more. Do you have any like positive testimonials of people completely shattering that?
Yeah. I have someone I worked with a few years ago. He is a PhD in history and a minister. And he marries the two and he shows how American history progressed and how it relates to our religious beliefs or religious beliefs at the time. And when I first started working with him, one of the things he said to me is like, Pericles, my mindset is that my time is not worth anything. That's what I grew up, believing. That's what I heard from my family, heard from my friends. It's just my time is not valuable and I'm never going to be able to get people to pay me for my time. And
Mm,
in the course of the conversations that we had and the work that we did together, he actually went from talking all over the country for free, paying for the travel himself, to now he doesn't open his mouth unless he's getting paid $1,500 an hour.
mm,
He now has a job where he works on a cruise ship, and that's all he does all day long. He gets paid to be on the cruise, and he talks to people on the cruise about American history and the integration of religion. And he gets paid to travel, he gets paid to talk about what he's doing, and he's living the life of his dreams. So we went from somebody who never saw worth in his time, gave it away when he's actually paying to do that traveling, to now he's on the other end of the coin. He's or opposite side of the coin where he's getting paid to do what he loves. And he
mm,
loves every single minute of it. That's the power of shifting our money mindset or adjusting our financial thermostat. And again, it's
mm.
not about how much money, it's about what it is you need for your life. Because for some
Yeah.
people, they want something more, great, go for that. But don't create that and then suffer because you're not there. Suffering occurs for two reasons. One, we're always only in the present. It's the only time we ever are. We're never in the future. We're
Mm,
never in the past. We're only right here, right now, in this moment. Suffering occurs when we're thinking about things that happened in the past, right now, in the present, and we're suffering
mm.
over those things. But we're fighting with ghosts that no longer exist.
Yeah.
The second is we want to get somewhere, but we're not there. And we're saying, ooh, I've got to get there. I'm not there. I have to get there. I have to get there. We're suffering now over something that hasn't occurred yet that we don't have. Stay in the present. Let the
Mm,
future and the past inform you. Let your
yeah.
experiences inform you, but don't let them run you. And the same
Yeah.
thing for the future. Allow that future to source you. That's where I want to be. But look, we're on the journey far longer than we are at the destination. As human beings,
Yeah.
the minute we arrive somewhere, what's the first thing we do? Create another goal. Okay, I'm now going to do. So we're at the destination for a very short period of time. Enjoy the journey. And then when you get to the destination, honor yourself, honor and appreciate the reward and the victory, and then create the next journey that you're going to go on.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I know a lot of people that sit in that shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like,
Mm,
I wish I contributed more to my 401k when I was in my 20s. And, you can't do anything about that, but it is the present moment. And I actually want to ask you because I have a lot of job seekers that have been impacted by a layoff. And, a layoff is so scary because it's like sudden change of financial income flowing through. And they do tend to go immediately into future casting and future
right.
worry. Like, how long am I going to be unemployed for? Every month my savings is diminishing. So, can you give some advice to those listeners on how to maintain a healthy financial thermostat when you have a loss of income, whether it's through a corporate job or you lose a big client in your own business? Any words of wisdom there?
Yes. The first thing is to really stay present to, you will always be taken care of.
Mm,
Everything will work out. The universe is conspiring for my good. When we live
mm,
inside of that mindset, we always have that everything is going to turn out to my benefit mindset. I lost this job. I was laid off. I was fired. I was whatever happened because whatever it was that was there is not fulfilling my true purpose. And the next door is about to open. Suddenly we're in a mindset of the possibilities are endless and I'm on a journey and the next adventure is about to start. The next thing is be cautious about going into crisis mode. Well, I have to cut this. I have to cut that. I have to cut that. Because what we do is we create a vacuum of constriction and we start to constrict and constrict and constrict, and then everything constricts around us, and there's no room for money to flow to us because we're just cutting, 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 cutting. If you need to be responsible about the money flowing away from you because the money flowing to you is now not what it used to be, okay, I need to look at where I'm flowing my money right now. I'm going to be responsible, maybe not flow money here until the next door and opportunity opens up for me. So be responsible about how you relate to it. And then wake up every day and say to yourself, I'm an extraordinary human being. I have something to contribute to the world. I have a skill set, I have a desire, and I know the perfect thing is going to show up. And then get up inside of that and do your day. And do whatever it is that you're looking for, whether you're making phone calls, reaching out and connecting with people, changing your LinkedIn profile, all of those things. Do that inside of the perfect thing is going to show up for you. And then
yeah.
stay aware of when opportunities arise, because oftentimes we have it in our mind that it's got to look a certain way. And this really amazing opportunity shows up. It's a perfect opportunity, but because it didn't look the way we expected it, we kind of discount it. Same thing in relationships. We think
Mm,
they've got to be this, this, and this. And if they're not that, I'm not even going to look. And then the perfect person shows up and we poo poo them because they didn't look the way we wanted them to look. Always
mm.
stay aware of every opportunity. Pursue it. Maybe it's not the right one, but at least you did your due diligence.
Mm. Yeah, I really love that energy shift. And that's exactly what I say too, is that the world is in the universe is not conspiring against you. It's like conspiring for you. And
Mm,
I have a lot of job seekers who get laid off and it feels like the most traumatic, like catastrophic event that's happening. But then, a few months down the line, maybe sometimes even 6 months, they end up landing a job opportunity that pays them twice as much as the job that they got laid off from. And
yes.
it's so fascinating because not only did they make up those months of unemployment in their future paychecks, but it put them on a completely new thermostat. So I just really appreciate you sharing all that and how, like, such a strong reminder that money is energy. And I love that example of the constriction because you can really
Mm,
feel that. Like, the moment you go into like scarcity mindset, it's like you just start to find other reasons to
right.
prove like everything is scarce. Like, there's no abundance, there's no opportunity. And I love your distinction that you can be fiscally responsible or financially responsible, but still not cut off the flow. It's just,
Yes.
okay, maybe I'm looking at it as I can postpone these things, or I don't really need this now, but from a place of abundance, I'm still going to make the decision to, reroute this and be able to create new channels of that flow coming in. That's
Yes.
huge for
Yes.
anyone listening to that right now.
Yes.
Because I know so many people that do go into, I just have to like save, 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 like turn everything off,
Right.
eat ramen. And then they end up kind of going into that self fulfilling prophecy of sharing, like, there's not enough. Like I can't live this joyful, abundant life, even in this present moment. But you're saying it's all
Yeah.
about the present. And it's not even about the money. Like it's not about whether you buy a $3 ramen or a $20 gourmet ramen. It's just like, how do you feel when you're eating that ramen? Are you still
Right.
like appreciating it and expressing gratitude for either bowl?
Yes. Because there are a lot of people that don't even have ramen.
Yeah.
And so really getting into that place of, you know what, I may not be able to eat out as many times this month. I may have to change what I'm buying at the market and buy things that are a little less expensive so that I'm responsible for what I'm flowing away from me. But I'm still, like you said, appreciating and showing gratitude for the fact that I'm able to eat every single day. And then
Mm.
on the opposite side of that, make sure that you're taking advantage of all of the resources that are available to us. I've worked with a lot of people who say, well, I would never take unemployment. That was just no, we're never supposed to. You've been paying into unemployment. You're entitled to unemployment. So if you are in a situation where you're unemployed, reach out immediately and take advantage of those resources. It will close the gap and give you a little bit more breathing room while you're looking for that new opportunity. So don't put yourself in a box of, well, my parents never did it, my grandparents never did it. I get it. That's fine for them, but for you, allow yourself to take advantage of every opportunity that you possibly can.
Yeah. So beautiful to just see the resources, and those are there to support you.
And telling friends too. A lot of times we want to, oh, it's so embarrassing. I don't want to tell your friends, tell your family,
Mhm.
let them know, that you're looking for the next opportunity. You never know who it is who knows somebody else who's looking for you, looking for
Yeah.
someone exactly like you. So don't be afraid to share that with people. Don't be ashamed. That's again another financial thermostat setting, that shame around money, that shame around getting laid off or having a bump in the road, as it were. Don't be
Mhm.
afraid of those things. Embrace them and let the
Yeah.
people around you support you and nurture you as well.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a question for you. I'm curious if you have any cool hacks or tricks for listeners who want to raise their thermostat on a subconscious level. And so I'll give you an example. I think I read this in Tapping into Wealth, the book by Margaret Lynch, where she said, like, put your number, like your scary number, everywhere in the house on Post-its. And I actually did that. And it reminded me of this when you're saying, like, tell your friends everything. Cause I'd have friends come over and they'd be like, what is this number? I think back then it was $100,000. And I was just like plastered everywhere on like my walls, my mirrors. And to me, it was so helpful because I started to normalize the $100,000. And I started to just allow myself every time I saw it to remind myself, like, oh, this is possible for me. And I actually was able to, I don't want to say manifest, but to create that in my life when it seemed like a big number at the time. So I'm just curious if there's any other hacks or tips or tricks or tools that you like to help your clients with on a subconscious level as they're trying to practice stepping into this raised thermostat.
Your practice that you put in place was really great in setting that number and saying, okay, this is the number I'm going for, and then getting your mind, those neural pathways to start to fire and wire together of $100,000. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I can relate to that. It becomes so natural for us to be
Mm.
having that $100,000 conversation. I would add to that, as if that's something that someone takes on, take the next step. Now, what would you do when you're earning $100,000 with that $100,000?
Mm.
Look at all the things you're going to flow money away to, and look. And you want to include tax, so you want to be really clear, because a lot of people think, "Well, I'm going to make $100,000. I got $100,000 to spend." No, you don't. You don't
You
have
like this week?
$100,000. Right. You need to make sure you're accounting for taxes and all the things that come with that before you've got your net. That net is what you have to work with. And so working with that net, what would you actually do with it, and create that plan right now? Create that master plan. Where
Mm.
most people make a big mistake is they think, because I give my clients an exercise, I'm going to give you $1 million. What are you going to do with it? And usually they come right out of the gate was, well, I'm going to buy a home for myself. I'm going to buy a vacation home. I'm going to buy a home for my mom because I love my mom. I'm going to probably buy a new car, buy my mom a new car. And they're just talking about ways to disappear $1 million. And then
Yeah.
other people will say, well, I'm just going to hire a financial advisor. Now, while that sounds great, that is a very, and I'm not disparaging financial advisors. There are amazing people out there who are financial advisors, but you're putting yourself in a place of being separated from your money very quickly. If
Mm.
you don't understand what that financial advisor is going to be doing with your money, how can you possibly advocate for your money? We
Yeah.
are our own best advocate for our money. So it would be like taking your child and say, well, I'm just going to go hire a babysitter. I'm not going to
Mm.
do any due diligence. I'm not going to check their backgrounds. I'm just going to turn my kid over. We would never do that. Don't do
Yeah.
that with your money, because when a financial advisor says, oh, we're going to do this and this and this, well, ask questions. Why are we doing that? What's the return? How much is it costing me to invest in that? The more educated you are, the better choices you're going to make with your money. So create that plan, because then what happens is when you do make $100,000, it's already set. You already
Mm.
know what you're going to be doing. I'm flowing this amount to my long-term savings. I'm flowing this amount to my midterm savings. I'm flowing this amount to retirement, and I'm spending this amount on all the things that I want in my life. It's kind of like that set it and forget it situation. Whereas most people come into a financial windfall and they're in this emotional state around it, and then they just blow it all, and now
Mm.
they've got an issue. And going back to the person you were talking about who lost their job and then now is making more money, you get into that position, immediately do the same thing. How much money are you flowing into that reservoir on the side that you get to keep? So if that happens again, you've got all this money sitting there and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to stress, I don't have money. You just have
Yeah.
to focus on, what am I creating next in my life?
Yeah. I think that's so important and something that's not talked about enough in America. I forgot what the stat is, but it's a very high amount that doesn't have savings. Like if there
Hmm.
were an emergency, like I think it was like 70% or more are living paycheck to paycheck, which this goes back to why it's so important to just be proactive and be a steward of your own money so that when you receive it, you know. And I think that's also a really good plan of what to do in the in between when you're feeling impatient. Well, have you put together a plan? Have you,
Yeah.
like, if you got the money tomorrow, would you know exactly how you're allocating it? If not, like, great, work from that place as if you got that money. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. If I may add one thing too, because you said something
Yeah.
that's just made me think. A lot of people advocate, they say, okay, create your emergency fund, create your
Mm.
emergency fund. And they have good intentions. Do not create an emergency fund. It is the worst thing that you can do. People who create emergency funds have emergencies. We
Mm.
don't want to create in our life emergencies.
Yeah.
Create a wealth fund.
Mm.
Create a prosperity fund. Flow your money into that. That
Yeah.
will be there anytime you need it. If something unexpected comes up, great, you've got money for that. But creating the context of emergencies is not something that you want to do. And also, on a side note, if you're somebody who has emergencies all the time, that's part of your financial thermostat. That is
Yeah.
not just the way things are. It is the way things are, but it's the way things are because your financial thermostat is set that way. And you can undo that very, very quickly. So if you've got
Mm.
emergencies all the time, you can undo that and reset it so you no longer have emergencies.
Mm, yeah, semantics, like so
Yes.
important. And
Yes.
I really like that, just that shift in language from emergency fund to prosperity fund. And, I
Mhm.
think a lot of also negative or like not helpful conventional advice out there is to like put it into a checking account. There's high yield savings accounts right now for like 5% interest,
Yeah.
and you can withdraw at any time. So I think that's where people park their prosperity fund if they need immediate money or
Absolutely.
immediate access.
And again, that's where I encourage people to educate themselves.
Mm,
Don't, a lot of people say, I don't know anything about money. Okay. What can you do
right.
about that right now? We live in a
Yeah.
world where we can access just about any database through the internet and start to
Mhm.
educate ourselves. Put aside 10 minutes every day to just sit down and do some research on money. What would you do if you had $1 million? Where would you put it? How would you manage it? What are all those questions and answers? Start to get yourself to a place where you're comfortable with that. Because when you're
Mhm.
comfortable with that, money can then flow to you. That's a block in the flow of money coming to you, is not knowing what you're going to do with it.
So beautiful. And I think that goes back to you saying, like, I love money and money loves me. And just really, because I think a lot of people are scared about money. Like the
Hmm.
word finances scares the crap out of them. They would rather just avoid it and not look at it. But just changing that relationship, I can see how you would welcome more money into your life if it's just an energy or a currency or
Yes.
current. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, Anything else you want our listeners to know when it comes to money mindset?
Treat money like you would treat a significant other. There is
Yeah.
no better way to relate to it. Have it be that thing that you love in your life. Appreciate it, honor it, respect it. Imagine how you would want to be treated by your significant other or treat
Mhm.
your significant other. Do that, and money will start to show up in your life in many, many different ways. One of the reasons manifestation doesn't work for a lot of people is because their financial thermostat is not set for that kind of money to come to them. There's something in
Mhm.
there that's blocking it from actually flowing to them. So, really start to look at why it is you want what you want, how life would be when you have whatever it is you want to manifest. But don't forget you are where you are. Can you appreciate and be happy with and satisfied with what you currently have? Because if you can't, you're blocking the flow of money. I
Mm.
want to manifest this, but I hate my life right now. I
Yeah.
want to manifest that, but it really sucks where I am right now.
Mm.
Those are going to stop you from ever manifesting anything beyond what you have. If you can truly get present to, I have a home, I'm safe. I have food. I have clothes. I have friends. I have family. I do something that I love. And if you don't love what you do, find something about what you do that you can love so that you
Mm.
can move into that space of gratitude. Because when you're
Mm.
at that vibrational frequency, you will start to attract the things that you want. When we're in a vibrational frequency of despair or resentment or unhappiness, we're going to attract more of that. When we're in a vibrational frequency of joy and happiness and fulfillment, without that block of, yeah, but it's not where it is right now. That's the important part. Because the minute we go there, you might as well not do the manifestation. It's not going to work
Mm.
for you. But when you can truly get present to and be happy with where you are and be satisfied with enough, this is where not most people, a lot of people go awry, is they don't know what enough is. They're
Mm.
never satisfied. And so they don't have that sense of enough, which is why we have people who have such a glut of money, and it's still not enough. And they just want more, right?
Mm.
Versus, wow, this can be enough. And I'd love to go to this level, but where I am is
Mm.
enough. Find
Yeah.
that place for yourself and allow yourself to really dwell in where I am is enough. Where I am is fine. I'm really happy where I am. Because when we're joyful and happy right now, when we get to where we want to get, it will be much easier. Look, the reason we want more money is to be happy. Well, what if you were
Mm.
to be happy right now without the money? It makes having the money just be gravy. So find that joy, that happiness, that fulfillment right now. Whatever that is. I don't care if it's the person you live with, your dog, your clothes, something. Find something about your life that you love. Embrace that. Feel
Mm.
that love and happiness every single moment. Remind yourself of it. And the rest will start to flow. I promise you.
Yeah. That is so beautifully put. And the way that I explain that concept with my clients is coming from a place of appreciating rather than measuring. Because I feel
Mm,
like a lot of people are coming from that place of like, it's not enough, or only when I have that, or when I finally get there, or they're like kind of in like comparison mode of like
right.
not stacking up or not getting to the final destination. Like that place is always going to come from a place of I'm not enough, or it's not enough,
Mm,
or I'm not there yet, versus appreciating, which is what you were sharing, like in this present moment. I love how everything's connected. We're kind of reiterating this, but I think it's so important. Is like when you come from this place of, I already feel joyful, I already feel grateful, I can appreciate this situation, I can appreciate having no holes in my underwear. Like, wow,
Or even
like
if I do
you're
have holes in my underwear, I can appreciate that I have underwear with holes in them. I have underwear,
very
right?
yeah, like my butt is covered. Wow. Like I can be so grateful for that. Amazing. And that place of overflow then allows you to just keep receiving more of that. And
Mm,
that to me is kind of like the biggest shift because it's so easy when we feel like we're measuring and we're not enough and we're only then when I get that, then I'll finally be whatever. Like that's the hamster wheel you're talking about. No matter
yes.
like with your millionaires, with your billionaires, like they have all the zeros in their bank account, like after commas, and yet they're still like, why am I unfulfilled? Why am I not feeling like I can be happy?
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Or
what
at
they're
least,
looking at is, well, I'm only number 9 on the list. Why am I there are 8 other people ahead of
that's
me. I need to
measuring.
get right.
Yeah.
That's measuring and comparing to someone else. That is death. Right? For
Mm,
any kind of joy and happiness, to compare ourselves
yeah.
to others and especially not be happy for other people's success is just
Mm,
going to cause more stress and anxiety and despair in our own lives.
yeah.
Enjoy and relish when other people succeed in something and celebrate that them for them as well, because when we can do that for others, then we can do that for ourselves, and the universe can
Mm.
see we can appreciate it, and more will flow to us in that vein.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just appreciating your situation, but it's
Mhm.
also appreciating others because,
Yes.
wow, I love their success. I love what they've been able to do. I love the impact that they've done. I love their achievement. And it's that reminder, like that nudge to the universe, like, give me some of that too.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And am I ready for it?
Mm.
You know, I don't know if I don't speak the truth. I just speak from what I think works, and what works for whoever's listening to this, go for that. I don't
Yeah.
have the answer. Nobody has the answer. Run from anybody that says they do. Look for the answer that works for you, and everyone has
Mm,
something to contribute. But what works for you may not work for someone else. But the point I'm making is, if you say, I want X, the universe may test you and put X in front of you. And if you bat it away, well, you weren't ready for it. You really didn't want it. And it may not get presented to you again for a while until you demonstrate that you're ready for it. So when you say you're ready for it, when you declare, I want something, please provide this to me. If it shows up, acknowledge it. Show
mm,
gratitude and appreciation for it. There are no small wins. Remember that penny is what makes up a dollar bill. All of those things build and add to each other. So appreciate each element, each aspect of it, so that you can ultimately appreciate the whole.
mm. Wow. I feel like you just shared a masterclass on just how to raise your financial thermostat. And the beautiful thing about all of this is it doesn't cost any money to do it. Like
No.
you truly have all the resources right now. And you could start today, like just by being mindful and doing all those things that you just shared today. And it just, I don't know if you've heard of like quantum leaping or timeline shifts, but the way that I see it is every decision we make like puts us on a new path, and
Mm,
every like just be making these small shifts that you can really do today with your own mind, it's going to catapult you into another timeline or another path that you
yes,
want to be on.
absolutely. And if I can share one other thing too, because this is really important for people to think about as you start to increase your financial thermostat and you start to have new conversations around money, empowering conversations, conversations that forward what it is you're committed to. Remember that those old negative conversations will never go away. They will
Mm,
show up from time to time.
yes.
Don't allow those conversations when they show up to take you out. Well, I'm just screwed now. I'm back at square one. No, you're not. You're up here on the mountaintop having a new
Mm,
conversation with that negative conversation coming in. Just let it go acknowledge it. Wow, that's part of my old thought process. That's
Yeah.
amazing that that just kind of fired off there for a second. It's no longer who I am. I had that happen just the other day. I was in a conversation with somebody about doing something new, and it was a great opportunity. And I was really excited about it. And I hummed the phone, and all of a sudden, this weird feeling come over me.
Mm,
And I had to call my sister because I love to bounce things off. I'm like, what happened? She's like, that just sounds like an old conversation from when we were kids. I'm like, oh, you're right. That was an old feeling when my dad used to say, well, it's too good to be true. And it was
mm,
so clear in that moment. And you just give those thoughts up because they will never go away. I don't care how good you get at this. You'll always have those old neural pathways that will once in a while fire off. Wow, thank you for sharing. And then just move on.
yeah, those are kind of like the upper limits we all come against. And
Mm,
I think those are just protector parts of us. Like they want us, they feel like it's wired for safety. And,
yep.
don't do that. That's too risky. But we get to just have a loving conversation with it. And I love that you mentioned that because you're right. Anytime you do something new, you do something scary, you raise your financial thermostat, that familiar voice is just going to come naturally to us.
No, run. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
All those horrible thoughts. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You're not
Who do you
handsome
think you
enough.
are?
Right,
Mhm.
exactly. You're going to fail. People are going to realize you're a fraud. All of those conversations, just
Yeah.
acknowledge them. Don't fight them because you'll never win. Like you said, they're part of our survival mechanism. They just want us
Mm,
to be at home in bed eating bonbons and watching TV where it's safe. It
yeah.
doesn't deal with joy, happiness, dreams, aspirations. That's the frontal cortex. That's the part where we dream and create our futures.
Mm.
Embrace that and allow that to flow.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes of all time is from Jack Canfield, and he says, "Everything you want is on the other side of fear." So it's
Mhm.
like you see that fear and you're like, okay, I'm still going to go for it anyway, because that's my financial thermostat being raised versus
Yes.
leveled or even decreased, which is
Yes.
the opposite of what we want.
Exactly. It's kind of
Beautiful.
like the tell in poker. If you can relate to it just like that, the whatever it is that shows up for you in that negative way, wow, that's my tell that I'm up to something big. I'm up to
Um,
something exciting. When it shows up, okay. And then it sets that context of, yeah, on the other side of fear is my adventure, is my expansion.
mm,
Because we're either growing, we're either expanding, or we're contracting. There is no
mm.
standing still. There is no stasis. Expansion or contraction. Choose what you want to do. Expand or contract.
Yeah. And hopefully, we're all increasing our thermostats over time. Thank you so much, Pericles. I want to ask just two more questions.
Sure.
I ask all of our guests this. How do you cultivate more joy in your life?
Every morning, I have a routine that I get up. I'm present to my family and how much I love them, but I get up and I have a Nespresso. I love my one shot of Nespresso in the morning. And I prepare it. And when I take my first sip, I get present to how much I love it. And then I ask the universe for three things. And those three things are the three things that are most sacred to me. And I'm present to them in my life as they are. I'm present to them in the expression of how they will be as they grow and expand. And in that very short period of time, I've created the context for my day. And it
Mm.
brings me that sense of joy and fulfillment. So for each and every person, find that which works for you and start your day every single day inside of that feeling of love, fulfillment, and happiness. So that's what I do every single day to start it.
I
Yep.
appreciate you sharing that.
Sure.
Finally, where can our audience learn more about you? What do you want them to do if they're like, I love this episode? Pericles is awesome.
Well, they can visit my website. You can go to periclesrellas.com or resetyourfinancialthermostat.com. They both go to the same place. And you can find out more about the work that I do. I also have a free masterclass that you can sign up for and watch the 4 keys that I discovered to reset your financial thermostat. You can watch that masterclass and kind of take it to the next level. It's totally free. And I think it provides a tremendous amount of value. At least that's my commitment out of having created it.
I love that. And I'll link them in the show notes because your name is not the easiest to spell.
I know. Thank you.
Which is beautiful that you have another URL redirecting. I kind of have
Yes.
the same thing. My company name is Cultivate, but nobody can spell it. So I have
Right.
Cultivate Your Career that redirects to it as well.
Makes sense. Exactly.
Well, it's such a pleasure getting to know you. And thank you so much for being here and sharing all your wisdom with our audience.
Emily, it's been a pleasure for me as well. I love having these conversations. I appreciate the opportunity and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed it and you're not following me on social media already, come follow me and join the conversation on our latest post. I'm over at Cultivate, or you can visit our website, cultivate.com, and learn more. And don't forget to hit subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss another episode. I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Have a joyful day.